Welcome everyone to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Weaver.
And I'm Specialist Anna Grace Catoe.
And today we have a familiar face who hasn't been here it's been a while, I think. But I think we have a pretty good topic that we're going to talk about. So first I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're just going to jump right in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure. Love coming onto the podcast. My name is Lisa Mustard. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in South Carolina, and I am the I am the Director of Psychological Health for the South Carolina Army National Guard. And really what that means is I help soldiers and their families just kind of cope and deal and figure out what's going on, if they need any support, emotional health, mental health. And we have an 800 number that soldiers and families can always call and reach us at 800-681-2558. I got to plug that number.
I'm sure we'll hear it multiple times throughout the podcast.
Yeah, I love that number, 800-681-2558. But I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. So I guess let's just dive right in and get to the topic.
Yeah, and I think this is a really important topic and not something that we see a lot out there on, but it is all about a digital detox, as I touch my phone to look at my notes. But it's all about taking a digital detox from our smartphones and from social media. And I really, my interest came about in this when I noticed my own habits on how often I was checking my phone or checking, websites. And I didn't like how it was taking me away from the things that are most important to me that were sitting right next to me or in front of me, which is my family. And so it's just really out of my own personal experience. And I thought, well, if I'm going through this as an adult, I wonder how many other peers or adults out there are going through this as well. Because when I started to pay attention to not just my own behavior, I was kind of observing other people out and about. I saw when we would go out to dinner, I would see couples and families. Everybody was on their phone at the dinner table. I would see parents, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not judging. I'm just kind of observing. And I would go to our kids' sports practices, and I get it, you're sitting there, you're waiting on your kid, but so many adults were just sitting there on their phone, scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I was, I brought crossword puzzles, I was bringing a book, I was trying really hard not to use my phone, and it's tough. It's tough. I mean, when you think about this thing that's supposed to make our lives better and easier, actually sometimes taking away from our communication and our relationships. And I started to kind of dig into what was going on with phones. And one of the things that came out a couple months back was our U.S. Surgeon General came out and said that, you guys can Google this, you can look it up. It's a quick Google search to find his report. But I'm going to read to you that the recent research shows that adolescents who spend more than 3 hours per day on social media face double the risk of experiencing poor mental health outcomes, such as symptoms of depression and anxiety. And yet, one 2021 survey of teenagers found that, on average, they spend 3.5 hours a day on social media. And that really set my alarm kind of buzzing on taking a look at how my family was using phones on top of my own observations. Now, there's a lot of things that, I just kind of brought up that I could kind of go down the rabbit holes of different things, but I would like to kind of focus on if you're noticing your preteen or your teen is dealing with anxiety or symptoms of depression or any type of emotional health, mental health issue. I want to know, how much time is your preteen teen spending on their phone? And it's going to look different for everybody and every family, but really something to think about because it is influencing, their brains aren't fully developed like mine is, and it was affecting me, right? And I have a fully developed brain. So imagine what's going on for our preteens. And I say preteens and teens because I truly don't believe that any kid under the age of 10 should have a phone. It's just, unless you're going to give them like that dumb phone because you are worried about their location and you need to know where they are. But if they have those things, they don't need to be using apps and being on social media, even have access to the internet. So I'm going to slow down and ask you guys what questions come up for you as I share that, those stats or anything.
I like how you mentioned the phone thing because even though you say you don't think kids under 10 shouldn't have phones, I feel like each year that goes on, the younger and younger they are when they get their first phone. And it's insane. You're giving a kid that's barely has any responsibility a $500 phone, and and they're playing with, like you said, the apps and stuff. And I think a lot of parents might look at like the parental controls as something that helps, but at the same time, they're still on their phones. And like you were saying, going out to dinner and stuff, I've seen families like not even look at each other at once. And the only time they talked was to order, because they like their kid was on an iPad or a tablet and they were on their phone, or they were on a phone call, like with a headset. And it's like, you got to disconnect at some point.
And I do want to go back and say, if your kid is on 10 and you're like, well, if my kids don't have a phone, I'm guessing, like you said, they have a tablet. They got something. They got some screen. We're talking about screens too, you know, screens for kids. It's tough though. I mean, it's hard. Like as a parent, it's like sometimes the easy route is just give the kid the screen because you're busy, you're tired, you don't have the energy. But is that the best that we can do for our kids? And I've had to look at my own behavior, you know, and really change how we do things in our house. And I'm not here to like blame parents and to like put the finger on them and say, you, because I get it. Like, I know that it's a distraction, you know, phones and social media can be a distraction, but it's a distraction from, you know, communicating and having relationships. It's also for our kids. It's like, you know, socially, they're not out there, you know, connecting with other kids. They're in their room, they're on their phone, and they're using these apps to connect with each other. And I just, you know, I see that. And then when I have a family come to me and they're like, my kid's changed all of a sudden, you know, she was so carefree and this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden she's withdrawn and depressed. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you think has changed? Well, I don't know. We're not sure. She started high school, or, you know, I'm just saying she, cause I have girls, but like she or he started high school and they're just not like they used to be. Their grades they're not excited about things. Their grades are going down. And I'm like, what's going on with the phone? Like, how many hours a day is your child spending on their phone? It's something to really, really consider. And if you're listening to this or watching this and there's a part of you that's like, yeah, I mean, that could be part of it. I want to encourage parents and caregivers out there, like, to set some limits on it. It's not too late to pull it back. It's not too late. Just because you gave it to them doesn't mean that it's free reign. You've messed up and they're just, you know, whatever. Like, you can still pull it back. You can say, okay, we're going to do things different moving forward. And yeah, they're going to hate that and they're going to rebel, because that's what preteens and teenagers do. They're going to tell you it's not fair. Life is not fair. They're going to give you all the reasons in the book because they want what they want when they want it. And that makes sense. So you as the parent have to come up with your plan. And this is really, I almost feel like I'm like, there's this alarm bell that's out there and we kind of hear it. And if we know, I mean, there's a lot of information out there. I just want to tell people, like, just look for it on the internet and you will find it. One of the resources I like the best is a Substack by he's like a research, I don't know if he's a research psychologist, but his name is Jonathan Haidt, and he has a Substack called After Babel, and he is looking at all the research out there and he's putting it all together and he's explaining like why our kids are having these mental health issues. And he's like, there's no other thing that it's social media, it's having phones. And so we have to do something. Like, we can't just wait for the government to come in and like, now they're going to tell these companies what they need to do. It's on us parents to do that. We don't need to wait for the government to put parameters into place to save our kids from these things, because kids are smart. They're going to figure out ways around things that we never even probably would know. But as parents, it's on us. So I feel like I'm on a soapbox now, but it's okay. So how do you do that, I guess, is the question. Depending on the age of your kid, there are things that you can do. Delay the phone as long as you can. If you haven't given your kid, you know, the smartphone, delay it as long as you can. They say, you know, out there in the world of this research, 8th grade is a good time if your kid wants a phone, you know, at that point to give them a smartphone with limits on it. You don't want to give it to them and like, hey, good luck, you know, off to the races with the internet and Instagram and on Snapchat. You really... And it's going to look different for every family. You know your child, you know their maturity level, you know the responsibility level that they have, and keep tabs on it, you know. So, or if you, like I've said, they already have free reign on it and they're off to the races, and as you feel like there's no turning back, I just want to remind you, yes, you are the parent. Set some parameters. you know, this is their mental health. This is their future. This is everything in my book, in my mind. I don't know. Am I just kind of going off the rails here? Are y'all okay? Catoe's like,
No, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know. I don't have kids.
yeah, you don't.
But
Okay. So how about your own? I'm not trying to call you out, but like, how does it look for you?
yeah, I mean, obviously, like, I use my phone and stuff, but I don't like doom scroll. These days, I really don't. Like, if I'm using my phone, it's usually for the most part to like learn stuff like that, or I don't know. Like, it's normally stuff like that.
Yeah, but and my guess is because you have interests and hobbies and
Right, exactly.
things that you like to do.
Yeah, it's the like, I have a fishing app I use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be on that sucker all day trying to find the right places to go fish, or looking up stuff about music. And that's a big thing for me, is like, I like to have my pieces of technology just strictly to listen to music. But we work behind screens all the time, that whenever I can just be dumb, I get happy when my phone dies. I'm like, okay, no more responsibility. Like,
Yeah, that's awesome because you're out living a life.
Right.
Like, you have interests, you have hobbies, you're busy. I'm guessing you feel fulfilled by what you're doing.
Right.
You figured that part out, and that's beautiful. A lot of people don't have that. They don't know. And instead of looking for something, they just do this. They just scroll and they doom scroll, or they, you know, it's hard, and and I do see that a lot. Like, I ask people, what do you do for fun outside of work, or what do you do for your hobbies? And it's like, they say one thing, but they do that. You know, they're on their phone. And
yeah, I could name at least like 25. I feel like.
Oh, people who do that.
No, different hobbies that I like,
Yeah,
legitimate ones. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a big problem. And then, yeah, it'd be really hard to try and, you know, parent a child to not, or a teenager or whatever, to not be on their phones whenever you can't even do that yourself.
Right. Oh, it is hard. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. What about you?
I mean, I think recently I have recognized that my brain, the way it works, it's like I have to be doing multiple things. Like, when I'm upstairs working, for whatever reason, like, even though I'm like editing a podcast or editing a video or whatever it is for work, like, I feel like I have to be doing something else. Like, my mind cannot just focus on that one thing. And I noticed that I was like picking up my phone a lot, and like, if I get a notification, it's not necessarily to check the notification. It's, I hate all the the notification things. Like, yeah, so I just click all the apps so they go away, because that drives me nuts. So I'm like, okay, I need to stop doing that.
It doesn't bother me at all.
I know. I've seen her phone.
Yeah, I have like 40,000 emails. I have like 300 unread texts. Like, every single.
Find a balance.
That would drive me nuts.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, but I mean, I have noticed that, and like, I used to, when I was younger, I mean, growing up, cell phones were just coming out. Like, it wasn't a thing for us like it is now. And like, people still had pagers and everything, and like, email was just happening and all that. So like, I read all the time, or we were outside playing. And so I've tried to get back into that. I've weirdly gotten obsessed with crocheting. Like, I just decided I wanted to do it, and now like, I can't even go to the store without leaving with 100 things of yarn. And so like, I have been watching videos just for that, but I'm not sitting there on Facebook. I'm not going on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. And I honestly don't even post really on my social media. It's just to scroll to pass the time.
Right.
And so I've acknowledged that I don't think it's as bad as some people. I feel like I've tried to get a little bit better with it, but like she said, with our job, it's so hard to not be on some kind of device, because we're either editing, or we're looking up something on how to do something, or we're trying to come up with new ideas for things. And so like,
but at that point, we legitimately are using technology as a tool.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's supposed to be used, not, I guess that really is the thing though, right? Like, using technology as a tool, not as a form of like fulfillment, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's what people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what you said about, what did you say that really caught my attention? Just using it as a tool and using it as a way to learn something is very different, than just because you're bored.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. When you're bored, you start scrolling. And my challenge to people is when you're bored, be bored. Like
I can't do that.
Well, try.
No, I literally can't. Whenever
Okay.
whenever we don't have something going on and I'm just sitting upstairs, the inside of my head is just going all day long. Like I can't be bored.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up because like I think the biggest thing too is that's the problem is when you're going to like a doctor's office for an appointment or you're waiting for your kids to finish with their practice or whatever, like when you're in those moments of you literally have nothing to do, the first thing you do is pick up your phone. And I noticed that because I was going to a lot of different appointments and stuff. And I mean, you show up early for your appointment, and then you sit there 30 minutes past, then you go to the back. Like, so you have like this hour and a half where you're just waiting, and it's like, what else are you supposed to do? Like,
Right.
Just look at the wall. And I started to notice that. And then like the people around me and like older people were just scrolling on their phone or talking on the phone. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. And so I have an app on my phone where I can read my books. Like it's linked to my iPad. So like if I read it on my phone, then when I go to my iPad, like it syncs it so I don't forget where I'm at. But like, yeah, it sucks to read a book on your phone, but at least it's something to be able to do versus just scrolling and seeing what people are posting or people are posting products and I'm like, oh, I should buy that. So then I'm spending money that I probably shouldn't spend.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's really why social media is can be an issue too, is because you're just literally scrolling, looking at what everyone else is doing, and then whether you realize it or not, you compare it back to your own life, and that can make you feel not so great.
Yeah. So as adults, we're feeling that, right? So imagine what a 14 or 13-year-old kid is feeling when they, and their brains aren't fully developed. Their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, and and also like that means their impulsivity is up too. Like they're gonna make decisions because they're kids, and they might see something or might have something come across their feed or their, and it's just. So imagine as a 50-year-old woman, like I see something, and I feel bad about myself. Imagine like a child or a preteen coming across something, and they don't have the understanding or the life experiences to make meaning out of it. It's tough. It is really tough. But I like what y'all were saying about, that because you each have a different personality, and Weaver, you kind of get like being bored is something that you're struggling with, and Catoe's like, I can't be bored. I can't have it. It's not, it's too much. So where's the happy medium, and that's something that we all have to figure out, because being bored isn't a bad thing. It's, it's really not. I know she's like, oh, I can't stand it, but just try it. Next time you're feeling bored, just sit with that and be like, okay, I'm bored.
Well, I can't. I literally am.
Try.
I have ADHD. I literally cannot.
Wow.
Yeah, that changes things a little bit. Let's be honest.
Okay. I mean, I get that, but that's a skill that you can, anybody can learn that skill. I'm not saying, it's going to be easier for you, but it's a skill. And, it is tough. And I guess I just really wanted to kind of get the message out for our soldiers and their families to, pay attention to how they're using it, what their intention is behind it. Are they using it when they're bored and have had a long day and they're just like ready to disconnect from everything? And if they're doing that when their family's around, what kind of message are you sending to your family? And just, it's going to look different for everybody, but just be aware of how you're showing up in, your family, and maybe what if you want that to change, how are you going to how are you going to be different moving forward? Because it's a habit, right? But it's also something that if you want it to be different, you have to work at it being different. It just doesn't just magically happen, So,
Well, with that though, what are some tips then that parents can use or try to be able to use their phones or any type of smart device to be able to, I guess, pull the reins back on their use so that whenever they try to make changes with their children, that they're modeling the same thing.
Yeah. So the first thing that I always think about is, what's your intention behind being on your phone right now? Is it because you're looking to zone out? Is it you're looking to learn something? Because there's definitely a difference between the two. And just be very aware of how you're using your phone. And you might even want to pay attention and write down like the time of day that you're, on it. And are you learning or are you zoning out? And just start to kind of pay attention to how are you using your phone, your smartphone, that's a new word.
I like it.
Because like you're modeling the behavior to your kid. So after, like I had a conversation with one of my kids about using social media and why I was on it. And she's like, well, you're just wasting your time. I'm like, no, actually what I'm doing is I'm posting this because blah, blah, blah. When I'm done posting this, I'm going to turn the computer off and I will be in there with you in a minute. So be very honest with your kids about what you're doing. And if you are just biding time and you're bored, tell them and just say, and then, and if that's how you want to show up in your family, that's on you. But if you're like, I don't want to continue this, then you have to figure out how you're going to change that moving forward. So I would just always remind people to be very aware and intentional of how they're using their phone. Go ahead, and I did this. I took the social media apps off of my phone, and I loved it. I really thought I was going to hate it. I thought I was going to be missing out. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. I did put it back on because, once again, I had to make a post on something and it was easier for me to do it on my phone. But I was like, I have to get smarter about this because I can't just keep deleting it and adding it back because this is crazy making too. Like, so I have to go and look at like, okay, on the desktop, how do I create a story on a desktop? Can you even do that? I don't know. But you can't. Catoe's like, no, trust me. I've tried it. So you have to figure out, okay, well, what's my intention on using these social media apps, and set a timer for yourself. How long am I going to be on it? You can even set one of those screen time things on your phone so you can see how much time you're spending on there. But the best thing I ever did was just delete them off my phone. I just took them off. So you can do that too. But another thing too is I found that I wasn't checking social media, but then I was checking my email. So it was like this constant like, oh, I need to be checking something because it's here. And in my mind, if I can look at it and there's something that I can do because I can be productive in these 10 minutes that I'm sitting in the car waiting for my kid, then I'm going to do that. But I was always doing that, so it was like this repetitive behavior. So once again, it was take it off my phone, take the email app off the phone, except for work. Just things like that. And so you have to look at your kid and you have to, know their maturity level. You have to know your child to know what is appropriate or not. And just because your child tells you, well, so-and-so is doing it, and in their house, oh my gosh, if I had $1 every time one of my kids said that to me, I'd be so rich. But it doesn't matter what's going on in other people's households. It's your household. It is your family. You are the parent. These are your children, and these are your values. It doesn't matter what's going on over there. I mean, you can't change them. So be the change in your own family. Be the change, and just do the best that you can for your family. Does that help? Did I answer your question? Okay. Sometimes I go off on, y'all know I go down my my paths of whatever.
Like I said, I don't have kids, so I really can't speak to it, I guess. But I think it probably does help a lot if you're trying to not take the phones away, but limit.
Yeah, limit it.
Yeah. I think it helps a lot to just be accountable for your own actions too, because how are they ever supposed to learn or trust what you're doing or saying, or what you're trying to make them do if you're not doing it yourself?
Yeah, and that brings up another thing too is, at night, everybody's phone goes in the kitchen. It doesn't stay in bedrooms. There's no our kids do not have the phone in their room. That is not, no way. That's like letting your kids stay up on the internet all night long. That's the way I see that, because you don't know what's going on. They're not old enough to regulate themselves for a lot of them. So everybody's phone goes where it needs to be. Sometimes I'm on call, so my phone has to stay in the bedroom. So that's been great. I love the app timers. You can set screen times. You can set limits on all that stuff, and really talk to your kids about what they post on social media too. You know, don't give away your location. You know, there's always that OPSEC brief at Yellow Ribbon events. And that's one that's always stuck with me is I see parents posting, this is where my kid's going to college next year, and they're, you know, and here's their dorm, and there's a picture of their teenager going to the school in front of their dorm and the room number. I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Like, why would you put that out there for the world to know where your daughter's going to be a freshman at this dorm, and here's the dorm room? So talk to your kids about safety, and talk to them about being aware, and, you know, location, you know, because some apps you put a location on and they know where you are, just things like that. You know, set your direct messages to only people that they know, or all of that stuff, and just do the best that you can with the controls that you can put on there. Of course, you know, there's gonna be times where things get by and stuff happens, but it's on us as parents to watch out for that. If you ask me, and I'm glad y'all asked me.
Yes, absolutely. I like that you brought up the phone thing, how you don't have him in the bedroom, because I've heard that multiple times, like, people are like, you shouldn't have TVs in your room, and you shouldn't have your phones, and this and that. And so I've been having sleeping issues for a while now, and nothing's helping. And I bought one of those, it's a light alarm clock. I don't know the exact term for it, but basically it's an alarm clock that it lights up like the sunrises, and then you can pick whatever noise you want with it. So like birds chirping or the ocean or whatever, and it's supposed to naturally wake you up versus your phone alarm where it's like, and you're like abruptly woken up. And then it has like this sleep setting that you can set it for 10, 15, 20 minutes, I think up to like 30 minutes, where the light's on and the sound's going, and it slowly goes down like the sun's setting. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to help your brain and like make you like just go into that sleep naturally versus just like abruptly waking up or trying to fall asleep or whatever. And it's been nice. I haven't, like, because my goal was to eventually not have my phone next to me, because I normally don't get, when I lay in bed, I don't get on it, but it's there, and I was using it as an alarm. And then when I would wake up, that's the first thing I would grab. Right. And so now when I wake up, I don't touch it until I get ready and I'm about to leave. So it just sits there. But I want to eventually move it, like you were saying, because I would rather just not use that. But then it's so hard because my husband, he still uses his for an alarm, and his alarm is so loud because he's practically deaf. And I'm like, can you please, like, because either I don't have to get up, so then he has to get up, and then it goes off, and I'm like, well, now I'm awake. Because
yeah, no, I hear you.
So it's hard. I got to try to get him into, maybe I need to get him his own alarm clock. Yeah. But I like how I'm never going to get the TV out of my room because he has to fall asleep with it. And I was like that when I was younger, and joining the military, I kind of got out of that because that basic, you can't have a TV when you're deployed. Like, at first we didn't have a TV, but you could only watch movies and stuff like that. So like I kind of got out of that, so I don't need it, but it's hard when you have somebody else that needs that.
Yeah, it is hard.
So
yeah, and I mean, it is what it is, and so you have to make the best with the situation that you have. But yeah, I mean, if he's able to transition to a different alarm clock, that might be helpful for you guys. Does the TV go off like in sleep mode, so it eventually turns it off, or is it on all the time?
Yeah, so our TV doesn't have a regular remote. We just have an Alexa or a Fire Stick plugged into it because we don't have cable. We just stream everything. And so I haven't figured out if you can set a sleep mode with that because we don't have a regular remote. But eventually when it plays for so long, it shuts off, but the TV's still on. Right. So like I wake up and it's not like super bright, but it's still like, you know, it's on.
Right.
But that's my problem is too, whenever like I have to watch something that I've watched a million times, because if I
Yeah.
watch something that I haven't seen,
I'm paying attention to
yeah,
it.
I will
guess.
not go to sleep. Like I will stay up knowing that I still have to get up and go to work the next day. Like my brain just won't shut off.
Even if the volume's on like literally 1.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate that, and I like for it to be dark. I cannot fall asleep with the TV on. It drives me insane.
Yeah. Huh. I guess we just don't have a TV in our room. We just never got into that habit. But it's a habit. I wonder if he's open to...
I've been trying.
Yeah.
We compromise with the volume,
Okay,
but
that's good. That's a start.
but
What's
then
the next thing? How's his sleep?
not good.
Right. So this might be interesting for you guys. There's apps out there, like meditation apps.
Mm-hmm.
What if you tried that instead? It puts me to sleep so fast. But then once again, my phone's in the room, so I don't like that. But I'm out like that.
Well, and I told him, I was like, what if we got a sound machine? Because he's like, I just need some kind of sound. And I was like, well, my alarm clock has that, like, but I could get you one to put right next to your bed so that you can hear it. Like, I don't know. we'll have to talk about it more.
Do y'all have to
but-
sleep with the fan on? Like
Yes.
the noise from the fan?
Oh, no, not the
Like-
noise, just because it gets hot.
I have a really loud fan that I sleep with on, but it's not because I need the fan. It's because it sounds loud, and I need that
Yeah.
too.
Well, so I mean, it's not uncommon for soldiers I talk to say that they need something in the room, you know. So what happens is you compensate with a TV, or you compensate with something, and then that becomes your habit. So you could try something that might be a little better for both of you guys, you know, because if you're both still not getting good sleep, then what else can you try? Because the goal is to have better sleep. So it seems to me like maybe try like one of those meditation apps, or gosh, you could even put it on. So you said you stream, you can get on the internet, right? Put it on YouTube and y'all watch or listen to some type of meditation. I mean, there's free stuff on YouTube, meditation for sleep. There's podcasts out there. I mean, there's so much, you know. I mean, it's just a suggestion. Y'all are, you know, if it's not working, then there's got to be something else out there you can try just to see. But you got to get his buy-in. You know, that's the hard part is if he's like, oh, I don't mind not sleeping well. My husband can't stand it. Like he needs to sleep. Like we both agree, like sleep is a priority for both of us. And I have a tendency to get my thoughts just kind of race. If I have a hard time falling asleep, that's usually my issue. Or if I watch something before I go to bed on my phone, you know, I get in bed, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to relax and watch this documentary on like, gosh, I watched that fundamentalist LDS stuff, and that was
so good though.
It was good, but man, I just laid in bed. I was like, because I remember when that happened. I mean, I remember seeing that on TV and stuff. Like, anyway, you know, that keeps me awake. So I have to read or do a crossword puzzle or just something that gets me out of my thoughts and kind of into slow down mindset.
Yeah, I can't do anything that's like that gets my blood rushing, because like he'll want to watch like a scary movie or something, or
oh my gosh,
like volleyball season. Like thank God that it was on Fridays, because the only time I had to worry about it is if I had drill. But after a volleyball game, and if we were at a late game, like I would be pumped. I would be like, let's go. I can't sleep. Like, let's do something, because like you just get your adrenaline goes up, and it's harder to calm yourself down.
Right.
So yeah, I've noticed those things recently. I'm like, oh wait, I can't do that. Like I can't do a certain thing within a certain window before bed, or I know I'm not going to sleep.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get it. Yeah. I mean, but it's also, that kind of goes back to whenever, you know, if you have a counselor or a doctor telling you really need a sleep schedule, you really need sleep hygiene. This is what we're talking about, is you have to know what amps you up, what can bring you down. You know, everybody, it's always funny to me when I'll talk to a soldier about, you know, sleep hygiene or like better sleep. They just look at me like, it's not, I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. And I'm like, well, then your sleep's going to suck. Like you have to do something different to have different, you know. I'm not yelling at you. I'm really not. I know you can do it.
Yeah, I think that's the problem too, is especially in the military, you get set in your routine because you're so used to doing the same things over and over again, or because there's rules, regulations, SOPs that tell you have to do something a certain way. So like whenever you're at home, your brain doesn't just shut that off. Like some people can, but majority people, like they have that mindset 24/7, and it's hard to shut it off. So then when it comes to their home life, they don't know how to to do, like, to make those changes to be able to get better sleep or whatever it is that they're trying to do. It just makes it a little bit harder, I would think, in that sense.
I agree. I mean, you're right. It is, and it is what it is. It's harder for some and easier for others. And I would say that those who've been in longer they've figured out how to make it work. But there is definitely an adjustment for the soldiers and I see the evolution. They come in, they're single, they're young, and then they find somebody and they get married, and then that changes everything. And then, they have kids, and then they go on a deployment. I mean, it's just constantly evolving and finding, like I always say, the new normal. So it's not easy. You know, this is and here I am on another soapbox, but this is it's not even a lifestyle. This is a job that the majority of you all choose, right, to go into and make it your career. And it's not easy. And a lot is expected of you. And we're grateful, as a civilian, so grateful. But at the same time, I see the struggle. And so I have such gratitude and appreciation for what you all do. And so yeah, that's why we're here, is to help you figure these things out, and not to berate you or to judge you or to say, get off your phone. But it's to be like, okay, if you're having problems with your kids or in your relationships, or, if you notice your mental health or emotional health just isn't what it used to be, then like take a look at not just this behavior, and I'm pointing at my phone, but other behaviors that you are using to compensate and to help you cope with whatever might really be going on underneath the surface. So once again, I will plug that 800 number. So if anybody needs support, 800-681-2558. You do have to leave a message, but it is confidential, and we will get back to you as soon as we can and support you in the best that we can. And whatever that looks like, that could mean meeting with one of the behavioral health specialists in your region. It might mean having a conversation on the phone and saying, okay, this is what I think you really need. Let me give you some resources, and then I'm going to follow up with you. It could be a number of things. So no question or no call is silly or avoided on our end. But this has been a really fun topic. Do you guys have anything else that you want to throw out there about it? Or
No, I mean, I think, like you were saying, a big thing in the military is situational awareness. So I think we need to start being more aware of ourselves, because everything we do on a daily basis is typically for somebody else. Or like you said, it's habit, it's routine. And so you might not realize that you're doing something maybe that's affecting you in a certain type of way. So maybe just becoming more aware of when you're feeling a certain type of way, okay, what am I doing in this moment? Am I scrolling on my phone? Am I sitting on my iPad? Am I on the internet or whatever? And what can I do to make myself feel better or happier or not, whatever I'm feeling in that moment? So I think just everybody taking more recognition in themselves and their actions and what they're doing, and figuring out things that can help make them not feel those ways if they're negative things.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that is perfect, is our own situational awareness. And if we realize that, hey, I feel different than I did a couple months ago, like, be curious about that. There's no shame and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just whatever's going on in your life because of all kinds of different reasons. So I really like that you said that. And that's being a human. That's not just being in the military or in the Guard. That's human. That's just being human. And, they say that technology and makes our lives better, but a lot of the times it doesn't. It can make things worse. So yeah, situational awareness is so key. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's also important to recognize or have that self-awareness when you're in a positive place too, I guess. Like, okay, well, like, what did I do to get here then? Like, it's the balance of those two things that kind of makes everything come together.
I like that. That's so true. Yeah. Hey, I'm having a really good day. What's going on? Like,
right.
How did I get here? And I think that's beautiful. That's beautiful. We could talk about this kind of stuff, or maybe you'll have me back again and we can talk about something else. I don't know.
Oh, I can definitely assure you that, because I'm pretty sure you're the only guest that has been on more times than anybody else I could possibly think of.
Well, I'm so honored. And if anybody has questions out there that they want answers to and they want to reach out to you guys, we could do it. Like we could answer questions, on a podcast. That'd be really fun. I think that would be really cool to like have somebody write in and then we could talk about it.
Yeah, like a Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys heard it here. And if you're on YouTube, you've seen it here. So make sure that if there is something that we haven't discussed that you have a question about, leave us a comment or reach out to us on social media, because we've been talking about doing something like that, but the buy-in's so hard.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, we could walk around the armory and the tag building and stuff, but we want to reach out to everybody. We want to reach out to the M-Day soldiers and their families and stuff. We don't want to just constantly go to the full-time staff because they're here. So if you guys are listening or watching, please leave us a comment and let us know, because I think that would be a really good episode for us to just sit and just answer questions that people truly have are truly trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what do I do in this situation?
Absolutely. And if you are full-time and you're listening to this or watching this, reach out to your M-Day soldiers and see what questions they have.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, and they can also send me an email if they, if they have a question and they want to give me some context behind it. And we'll keep it anonymous. I'm not going to go, well, Sergeant Smith out of Greenwood writes in.
Yeah.
We'll keep it private and keep you anonymous. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll have to keep track and see if we get any submissions and go from there.
Maybe we should offer a prize. Probably can't do that, though. I'm sure they won't let us do that, but we would offer you a prize if we could.
Maybe we can give you a shout out. I don't know. All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll close out. So thank you again for coming in, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Hopefully we can get some questions sent in so that we can do a podcast on just a Q&A.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.